My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubow. And today on the show, I've got what appears to be an emerging trend of real estate adjacent income. So people who are part of the real estate industry and that they're investing, but that their business is also parked next to it. So today on the show, I've got Jason LeSage. Am I saying it correctly?
You bet, yeah.
And he's going to tell us about his moving business and how he's able to roll that income over and to build his real estate portfolio. Jason, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Good. I got one of my favorite ties on. I can't complain. You know, it's pretty plain, but it's doing pretty good. So I can't complain.
Yeah,
how did you get into the moving business? That's a business that people aren't typically excited about getting into. Like, I don't know many people who are like, oh, hey, can you help me move? And they're like, no, thank you. So why moving, and how'd you get into that?
it's a bit of a long story, and it was kind of by accident, but I'll do my best to give the shortest version possible. So back in 2000 and through 2014 to 17, so about 3 years, I was actually a single foster dad. I fostered teenage boys in my home. I wasn't married. Didn't have a girlfriend or anything at the time. And I loved that job, but my boys grew up and they moved out. And then after they moved out, I was out looking for a job, looking for work. And I applied to a few different restaurants because when I went to university and college, I used to serve and bartend, and I really loved that job. So I thought I'll get back into the hospitality and the restaurant industry. So I applied to a few places. A few of them got back to me. One particularly got back to me and asked if I'd be interested in being a general manager of the establishment. And I thought, oh yeah, like great. I've always kind of had an interest in management and leadership. So this would be a good stepping stone for me. But I quickly found out that managing a restaurant or being an assistant manager at a restaurant versus just being a server or bartender was a lot different, and I really, really didn't like the job at all.
Yeah, managing people, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the same as serving and bartending whatsoever. It was much more less fun, we'll say. So I decided to just up and quit. I was miserable. I just couldn't handle it. And I didn't really have a backup plan. But while I was going through Kijiji and Facebook and Indeed and other places looking for yet another job, I came across a few different ads of some just general looking guys, general looking dudes that had pictures of themselves and their truck, and they would just say on Kijiji or Facebook, like, man with a truck, I'll help you move a fridge, a stove, a bed, whatever, 80 bucks, $100. And I thought to myself, like, if these guys can do it, like, surely I can do it. Because I mean, some of these guys, they looked a little rough, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
I said
I've
to
hired those
myself,
companies before. Sometimes the guys show up and they're like 150 pounds or 140 pounds like me, and I'm like, I thought I was hiring a moving company, not two like 20-year-olds out of like a university that, like, I'll just get my brother, we'll move it. But yeah, I get it. It's a
yeah,
weird
some of
business.
these guys looked like they just rolled out of bed on an all-day bender, and they'd have like a cigarette sticking out of their mouth, and it's like, yeah, hire me. And I just was like, man, what a joke. Like, if these guys are getting business, then if I take a picture of myself and my new truck, I'm sure I'll take their lunch from them. So that's what I did, and that's like pretty much exactly what happened. I started to get numerous calls every day to just go out and do these little, like, 80, 100, $120 jobs, but I was doing 3, 4, 5 of them a day, and profiting a few $100 a day just from doing that myself. And then it just grew because all the people that I serviced, they would refer me to their friends and their friends, etc. And then it turned into people asking me to actually do like full-fledged moves instead of just
The whole
picking up
house.
a couple pieces of furniture. And then I said sure, and I started to like hire friends or hire other guys off of Kijiji, whatever I had to do to service these moves. And then I started to get calls where people wanted move on day that I was already booked, and I was like, well, I can't be two places at once because I was on most of the jobs as well, and then I'd have two other guys with me that I knew, but I can't be in Belleville one day and Kingston also on the same day. So I
Mhm.
started to hire more and more people, and it just snowballed. Like it was just a complete accident. I really didn't have an intention of owning and starting a moving business that was successful and that would do well and that would get multiple bookings a day, but it just kind of happened organically. And I've just rolled with it ever since. And it's going to be 5 years this coming May. So I got lucky.
Well, there's no luck in hard work. You had to actually do all of that moving that nobody no one's lining up to steal your lunch, and you went and stole their lunch. So good for you, man. Like that's capitalism in play. So now that you've figured out, okay, now I'm making some money running that business, typically this is where people are like, okay, this is income, this is active income. How did you decide to roll it into real estate? Like you could have invested it in stocks, you could have done, anything else with that income that you're now earning from this business. Why real estate, and when did you start, looking at real estate seriously as an investment?
Well, I've always been interested in real estate. It's just can be a little bit of a difficult industry to get into unless you have capital or unless you know someone that's willing to give you that capital. So
Mm-hmm.
the first couple of years of owning the moving business, I just saved up as much capital as I could. I used the business to my advantage legally as best as I could. So I would use the business income to, pay for my vehicle that I use for business and personally, to pay for the rent at the house I was living at, utilities, etc. Because I was, using that house and the garage for storage, and I was using the property for business related purposes. So I was able to use the business money to pay for a lot of things. So I didn't have to take an income that was taxed. And then
Mm-hmm.
at the end of every year, the Canadian government allows you to take approximately $39,000 a year in dividends, and you only have to pay around $400 or $500 in income tax on that. So I just max out my dividends every year and use the business to pay for everything else I possibly can legally, so that my income tax is next to nothing. But at the end of every year, $39,000 to $40,000 is a good chunk of money. So I did that for a couple of years, saved up for a down payment of my first property I bought back in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then rented that out. Kept saving money each year since then. Took some equity out of that first property, and then I just bought a second property week and yeah, a little less than a week and a half ago. It was like Tuesday last week, and we're neck deep in renovations in that place now. So we're either going to rent that once it's done, or we're gonna flip it and try to make a profit and take the capital we make from it, and maybe buy a fourplex, or something that generates a little more positive cash flow, because cash flow is king, and it's really hard to get cash flow these days
Yeah.
with the interest rates. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm currently at right now.
Okay, so tell me, where do you want to go with this real estate investing strategy over the next 12 months?
Well, like I said, with the current property I'm renovating, I'd like to refinance that when once the renovations are done, or after a year of holding the mortgage, and then see what capital is available in that property, and just kind of rinse and repeat and do the same thing that I've done the last 12 to 18 months with my first property, with refinancing it, taking the equity out of it to buy this house I just bought last week. So the house I bought last week, once the renovations are done, like I said, refinance, buy another property, hopefully, and just kind of keep the ball rolling.
So you've been primarily focused on self-financing. I guess technically your business is in a roundabout way financing your real estate. Now,
Mhm.
what are you doing apart from that? Because that scale is going to be um, kind of maxed out, right? You're going to be in and you're going to be out, and you're going to be in and you're going to be out. And, are you comfortable with that pace? Is that something that you've decided, I'm going to focus on my business and real estate is just going to be like this overflow, or are you trying to transition from your business to real estate? You'd mentioned, I think, that you wanted to eventually sell off the moving company and really go into real estate full time, right?
Yeah, I don't know whether that's going to be 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or, it's definitely not going to happen in the next year or two, probably not overnight anyway. But yeah, eventually I would like to get to a point where I've got a good team that runs my moving company. I'd like to get a good team of people that help me with my real estate needs. And I'm just kind of building a Rolodex of contractors, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, um, all those people that you need on your side to make sound decisions for real estate investing. So eventually I would like to, get it so that maybe instead of only buying a property once every year and a half, I'm buying a property every couple months, maybe every 6 months to start, and then after that, it's like a full time thing. Like every month, you buy a property, you renovate it, flip it, um, sell it, go on to the next one, and just keep building up your capital. Or for some properties, you're better off to buy and hold. Like it all depends on the property. Every property kind of has its own
Mm-hmm.
flavor, based on its location and what work needs to be done. Some pieces of property you want to hold on to because they're in great locations, and others you just kind of want to improve, get a family in there, and resell it, flip it, resell it for a healthy profit, and then and move on to the next project.
So, when you're looking for properties, are you find the deal and then look at the financing, or do you prefer to get your capital lined up and then go looking for a deal?
Um, I I have a little bit of addiction of looking on MLS pretty much every single day.
Well,
I'm
that just means you're
always
like the rest of us.
I always yeah, I like just find it's instead of used to be, Facebook used to be like the thing you would do to fill in your time. Now for me, I scroll through properties, and like not just properties like in Canada around here, but like in the States and like Florida, the Dominican. Like I'm just kind of I just like looking at houses and seeing opportunities, and it's really hard to find a good opportunity nowadays because housing is it's such a rare commodity now, with the
Mm-hmm.
amount of homes available in Canada in comparison to its population. That's why the prices are so high with the supply and demand. But man, sometimes you can find good situations. The property I just bought um, was a bit of a situation. I don't want to disclose too much, but let's just say the sellers weren't. They were kind of their own worst enemies, and they were scaring a lot of people away.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got thick skin, and it didn't bother me. So I knew that they were desperate to sell. I knew that there wasn't a lot of other interest, despite the fact that it was a solid lot and a solid property for the most part. Sure, it needs work, but solid lot. So I knew that no one else was really interested in it, and so I was able to get it at a pretty rock bottom price. But it took me probably looking at 100 to 200 properties before I found that one, and before I did a bit of digging and did some showings with my real estate agent I work with, and found the proper circumstance to take advantage of. So um, that's how I found the property that I currently am working on.
So, how do you analyze a deal? What makes a deal for you as someone who's got a few properties, but you're looking all day and you're saying, I'm having a challenge finding opportunity. What to you is opportunity? Because it's different to everyone, but for you, what does that look like? What gets you excited about a deal?
Well, it depends on whether you want to buy and hold and rent it out, or whether you want to flip it. Um, for me, what I've been looking at, if it's a buy and hold situation, is um, how much work is going to be needed to fix this place up to make it rentable.
Mm-hmm.
A lot, or maybe some of the properties don't need a lot of work. So if it doesn't need a lot of work, what do the financials look like? So, okay, the price of the property is X amount of dollars with the rate you're able to get and your mortgage payments and your property tax and your insurance versus what you can get for rent doesn't make sense, or are you going to lose like $1,000 a month on this property? Well, if you're going to lose a lot of money, it's not worth it. But right now it's really hard to find cash flowing property. So it's more like, how much can I comfortably afford to lose? So on one of my properties, I'm losing maybe a couple of $100 a month, but I'm okay with that right now and taking a little bit of a hit because I know that in 5 years, rates are going to go down. The principal that I owe on the mortgage is going to be significantly less. Therefore, my expenses are going to be a lot less. So I'll be able to cash flow quite well, um, in 5 years down the road. And even though I might be losing money every month on a couple of the properties, the appreciation more than makes up for that as well, which is why I was able to take money out of my first property that I was cash flowing negative in, but it had appreciated about $25,000 in a year and a half. So I took that equity out in addition to the equity I'd already paid off and used it to buy the second house. So you got to compare your cash flow and what you're comfortable with, and you got to look at the appreciation potential of the property for buy and hold. And then for a flip, it's a little more simple, in my opinion. You just look at what's the cost of the property, what's the approximate cost going to be to repair it, and then what can I get for it, and then what's the spread on that minus your expenses to get out of a mortgage a bit early and your legal fees to sell and close and real estate fees, etc. So if there's a big enough spread that you're comfortable with selling it after a month or two of renovating, and you take your capital gains hit, if you're going to make $20,000 or $30,000, it's worth it. If you're going to make less than 10,000, it's probably a little too risky because you might be thinking, oh, I can make $10,000 on this property in a month, but until you start renovating, $10,000 can disappear like a fart in a windstorm. So you gotta be pretty confident that you're gonna have at least a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 spread, so that if you have a little $10,000, $15,000 surprise here, that you're still gonna walk away with $10,000 or more from the deal and make it worth your time and energy for the last month or two.
Yeah, awesome. So it sounds like you got big plans. It sounds like you're spending a lot of time, researching these things, and you've got the active income. You're not relying on your real estate portfolio to provide that sort of active income, which some people, try to leverage. So great foundation. I think you got big things ahead of you as far as growing that. And really, I think the next step, probably if I was in your shoes, would be deciding how fast you want to go and how big you want to go. And because you don't actually need the income on the real estate side, you need, it's kind of like you're building it up. So probably utilizing other people's money can collapse some of those time frames for you. But it's really a personal choice. If you love what you're doing right now and it's all going well, then you could just keep doing that too. I mean, that's the thing about real estate. It's all about preferences. So, if people want to invest with you or they want to like reach out to you and kind of pick your brain, what's the best way that they can connect with you? What should they do?
Probably best would just be to send me an email or look me up on Facebook. I'm under my name, no stage names or aliases or anything, just Jason LeSage on Facebook. Or my email is really simple. It's just jason@jasonsmoving.com.
Oh, that's even easier. So yeah, awesome. Really appreciate your time. And as always, guys, we will catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, Then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.